Hello and welcome to another devastating episode of the Audiophile Man. And what do I have for you this time around? A cartridge from Ortofon called the Concorde Music Red. There's a whole range of these things. I thought I would hit the Red, the lowest cost unit in this entire range. Question: would you call this a brave decision by Ortofon? That is, to ally its Concorde cartridge design, famous for its place in DJ culture, with one of the most respected and well-established audiophile line of cartridges the world has ever seen. Because that is basically what the company is doing here. Taking the Concorde cartridge chassis with that distinctive droop snoot configuration and stuffing it with some, not all, 2M technology from its audiophile cartridge line. So yes, the new Concorde Music cartridges do share the split pole pin technology of the 2M, but the quad coil generator system used in the new Concorde Music, well, that has a stronger 6 millivolts output, which is pretty high in its class. According to Ortofon itself, and I quote, "This is great for more casual users who don't want to tweak volume as they jump between sources on their amplifier, or for those who might be using a poorer quality built-in phono stage with limited gain." And by that, I'm guessing Ortofon is kind of pointing the finger at those built-in phono amps you might find in a lower cost turntable. So you can kind of see who Ortofon is targeting here with this new range. More than that, the new Concorde range is a plug and play system, removing basic installation requirements that you might see with a basic cartridge on a separate headshell. Based on moving magnet technology, what the Concorde Music line presents is an array of models called the Music Red, the Blue, the Bronze, Black, and LVB250. You will notice the similarity in terms of the moniker with the well-known 2M range. The new Concorde range provides an aluminium cantilever, except for the LVB, which offers boron. Plus, you get various stylized shapes from the elliptical to the nude elliptical, nude fine line, and nude ciabatta. I'll put a little graphic online. You can pause this and look at it at your leisure. You'll also notice quad coils, as I've mentioned before, silver-plated coil wiring, a 1.8 gram tracking force throughout, plus an 18 gram weight overall. Each of these cartridges uses the same cartridge body and generator system, so all you've got to do is upgrade the stylus when you have the funds. Like any Concorde variant out there, the Music series integrates the cartridge with the headshell, so the entire unit fits to any arm that sports an SME type fitting. Now, 5 years ago, back in 2019, I reviewed the Picket S2, the cartridge made for project by Ortofon. That was Ortofon's earlier attempt, I would say, to drag the Concorde model into the audiophile world. That particular model had its pros and its cons, and in my opinion, it didn't quite make it in pure sonic terms. Question is, will the Concorde Music cartridge, this latest iteration, will it fare any better? Well, we'll go to the sound quality tests and we will see. To test the Red, I grabbed an original copy of Yes's rather forgotten, I would say, LP Tormato on the Atlantic label from 1978, and I played the track Future Times. This is a high-energy rock outing, highly complex, surprise, hey, and full of varying instruments including drums, bass, electric guitar, synths, and the kitchen sink. Enough to become messy if any one component can't cope, put it that way, including the cartridge, of course. To begin the tests, I grabbed an unmodified Audio-Technica LP5x, which I rate as a good all-rounder, and you can pick it up for, well, I don't know, anywhere between £300 and £400, depending where you shop. And I initially compared the Concorde Music Red with the Audio-Technica VM95E cartridge, another design I also rate highly for the price, in this case about £45, depending where you shop. The 95E is a balanced and detailed cartridge for that price. Swapping the 95E and of course the head shell for the Concorde Music Red, I felt that the soundstage for the Red expanded left and right. The presentation was rather grand, even epic in places for the Red. What the Music Red did here was to corral every frequency and every piece of detail within those frequencies and push them all evenly towards the front of the mix, the front of the soundstage. Now this meant that music did sound a little obvious, a little bit flat, lacking in nuance, imagery and depth, but it also meant that nothing was hidden. Every subtle, easily missed element in detailed terms was available to hear, which was ideal for those less than insightful hi-fi systems. The Music Red did all the legwork in this case. When all of these frequencies were pushed forward towards the listener, the Music Red took things just a little bit far though, because there was a slight mid-range and treble emphasis here. Bass, on the other hand, was completely impactful, strong and meaty. Turning to the original 2M Red, also from Ortofon, the cartridge attached to a separate head shell of course. Well, the Concorde in comparison to the 2M Red did sound like it was forcing the mid-range a little, pushing it forward. Mid-range was a little obvious when faced with the 2M Red, whereas there was more tonal realism from the 2M Red. The 2M Red provided a richer and more rounded mid-band. Music was restrained and relaxed via the 2M Red. In comparison, the Music Red sounded pumped, ready for action, full of adrenaline. So I removed the Audio-Technica turntable and I brought in a Fluance RT83 and I attached the Music Red to that. Now the RT83 has a natural bass emphasis. This is down to the dense plinth. The platform suited the output of the Concorde though, allowing that bass emphasis to match the slight mid-range and treble emphasis, giving an overall party atmosphere to the sound and suiting a rock output, I thought. In fact, a Fluance and Concorde Music Red provided a rocking, all-powerful, amp turned up to 11 character. Again though, changing the Concorde Red for the 2M Red, I found even with the Fluance that the 2M Red provided a superior tonal balance, a richer and more complex mid-range output, with a more effective treatment of fragile and subtle detail around the upper mids and the treble. There was more air and space around the soundstage from the 2M Red. This overall impression was confirmed while playing the rather lovely album from Jerry Southern, an original pressing of At the Crescendo from 1960. This album was a live outing via Capitol, and I played the track Thought of You Last Night, that principally featured Southern's voice, piano and violin. The Music Red just added enough emphasis to tighten the rather smooth Southern delivery. On the other hand, I dropped the Who album, Who Are You? This is a reissue from Classic Records in the USA. This album is naturally full of fire, full of bombast. The Music Red actually egged on the rock, added emphasis to the power and the glory, and forced you out of your seat to dance rather indelicately around the room. The Music Red was like a cartridge compere, a hi-fi host, a MC packed with energy and enthusiasm, desperate to involve you in the music itself. And that, folks, is basically the review of the Concorde Music Red cartridge. Let me give you a few final thoughts, because I have a few of those. I'll give you some pros and cons and a rating. Now, before we go any further, don't forget, when you're looking at the price of this unit, it can be a little skewed, because you're not just buying a cartridge, you're buying the head shell as well. The whole thing is combined into one unit. So just bear that in mind when you're judging the actual Concorde Music Red in terms of price. The Concorde Music Red can be a wish come true, a cartridge that's already installed into its own head shell. That means you don't have to worry about the potentially complicated installation step. Never mind that easy to install SME type fixing. Also, add the simple just change the stylus upgrade path. And well, your typical 2-channel home hi-fi system has never had such a simple plug and play cartridge operation. Sonically, however, if you want subtlety, delicacy, finesse, and fragility, then I'd advise you to look elsewhere, such as Ortofon's very own competing 2M Red, for example. The Concorde Music Red, well, it retains that DJ-esque sound envelope of other Concorde designs, and I am reminded once more of my earlier Pickett 2S2 review, which also promised an audiophile performance, yet just fell a little bit short, just a tad. It's a DJ personality that this chassis just cannot escape from. But that's okay, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into. There is still plenty to like here, but this cartridge is not for everyone. So question is, who is it for then? Well, if you want all of your sonic details served up on a silver platter front and center, or if you want all of your bass dumped in your lap, or if you want to party till you faint, then check out the Concorde Music Red. Pros and cons. And first and foremost, this cartridge is easy to install. You already have the cartridge and head shell combined. That fits into an SME fitting. Job done. Secondly, bass. Well, this was a big bass performance. Impressive. Next, detail. Well, there was no hidden detail here. If it was in the mix, your ears could check it out. Next, well, as a sonic envelope, I would recommend this one for out-and-out rockers. High energy music. Well, this cartridge laps it up. And in the bad section, there's that mid-range emphasis. All of the frequencies are pushed towards you. I just think they go a little bit further than they should. Next, well, because all of those frequencies are pushed towards you, the soundstage can sound a little bit flat. Next, well, again, because of all of that, the presentation is just a little bit unbalanced. So we have a heap of pros and we have a heap of cons, and that's the reason I'm going to be giving this particular cartridge a 7 out of 10. And that's your lot, folks. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. Before you go, just down there, can you click on the subscribe and also the like buttons, please? That would just help this channel just to keep going. It's all that engagement, you know. Algorithm just loves this. Anyway, further down, I will put a link so you can have a little look at the Concorde Music range, the Red, and all the others as well. Further down still, well, there's my links. There's a Patreon link. You can check out the exclusive Hi-Fi News Etc. video. There's one every single week, plus my website and my Facebook group, which you're welcome to join. I'll be back on, when will I be back? On Saturday with a new music alerts video, and I hope to have your company then. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.